Hey everyone, welcome to the 700 Club. A lot to talk about today in the news, starting with a record-setting speech at the Capitol last night as President Trump spoke for 100 minutes in his first address to Congress.
Well, the president touted the administration's quick action in fulfilling his agenda despite protests from Democrats in the audience. CBN congressional correspondent Michelle London reports.
America is back.
A strong show of support during President Trump's opening remarks Tuesday night as he recounted his achievements since the inauguration. Moments in, the president touted historic change after winning the election with a mostly red map. His remarks triggering disruption from Democrats.
Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
President Trump continued with a long list of accomplishments, starting with the creation of DOGE, headed by Elon Musk.
Thank you, Elon. He's working very hard. The Government Accountability Office, a federal government office, has estimated annual fraud of over $500 billion in our nation, and we are working very hard to stop it.
In his first 43 days, the president has signed at least 81 executive orders, ranging from requiring federal workers to return to the office, bringing back free speech by removing government censorship, making English the official language in America, and ending diversity, equity, and inclusion policies while removing critical race theory from public schools.
There are only two genders, male and female.
He also addressed transgender controversies, banning transgender athletes from playing in women's sports, and criminalizing sex changes on children.
Our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you.
On the topic of immigration, Trump introduced a new way successful migrants can buy a path to U.S. citizenship.
We have developed in great detail what we are calling the Gold Card, which goes on sale very, very soon for $5 million.
Throughout his speech, the president honored regular Americans, including the family of Laken Riley, a nursing student killed by an illegal migrant while jogging last year. One of the most emotional moments of the night went to DJ.
In 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live.
Now, 6 years in remission, the 13-year-old has always dreamed of being in law enforcement. And Tuesday night, his dream became a reality.
DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Moments after Trump's speech, Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin delivered a rebuttal to Trump's address on behalf of Democrats. Just 2 months into her tenure in the Senate, she's been a vocal critic on Trump's handlings with Ukraine.
It's at risk when the president decides you can pick and choose what rules you want to follow, when he ignores court orders and the Constitution itself, or when elected leaders stand by and just let it happen.
The president, however, sees glory days ahead and promises the American people a bright future.
My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Michelle London, CBN News, Washington.
Thank you, Michelle. A lot to pack in there. This is a great day to have CBN Chief Political Analyst David Brody with us. David, I'm still drying my eyes from DJ Daniel. We might get to that. But first, what did the president need to accomplish in this speech, and do you think he succeeded?
Well, there's no doubt about it. Look, he was in his comfort zone. You know, they talk about being in a zone in a football game, right? That quarterback that just kind of lasers in, goes 20 for 20 in pass completions. That was Trump last night. What do I mean by in a zone? He was talking what Americans are thinking about right now, whether it be cutting back on the bureaucracy, not necessarily the federal worker portion of it, but definitely the wasteful spending, the gender stuff that has just run amok, immigration, just go down the list. He was in his sweet spots, plural, and I think that really helped him last night for sure, Andrew.
One of the most compelling parts of the speech was when the president spent a lot of time, considerable time, listing wasteful spending projects by the federal government. Democrats probably are not responding as many Americans. What do you think?
Well, look, I thought actually that was the key part of the whole speech last night. I know a lot of folks will talk about different portions of it, but let's think about it. Let's go to the heartland and talk about, someone that just doesn't care too much about politics, but is listening to the speech for a moment. And then Donald Trump, the president, starts to rattle off a list of these wild things that are being spent on the taxpayers' dime, like $8 million to make mice transgender. What? It's like that type of stuff. And he just went on and on with it. And I think that really bonded him, I believe, with the American people when you start to go over and over again and explain these programs of like, what are we doing here? I think that plays to his brand of common sense. And we're seeing polls this morning, Andrew, indeed, that the president was well received last night. 76%. It was a YouGov poll, CBS actually, a CBS YouGov poll showing 76% of Americans liked the speech by President Trump.
We expected protests. We saw them. Democrats tried to protest the president in different ways. How do you think that's going to play with the American people?
It was a rough night for Democrats. They've tried everything. The old kitchen sink strategy has not worked, as Donald Trump pointed out, by the way, last night in his State of the Union. But look, they held signs. Of course, Al Green, who went ahead and, protested, shaking his cane up in the air, and he had to be escorted out, which, by the way, is unprecedented. That's never happened before. Some Congress members walked out. AOC, for example, never even attended the State of the Union. So they tried all different tactics. But the problem is that there's a fundamental disconnect between what the Democrats are doing and what the American people want. And specifically, with DJ there, the 13-year-old brain cancer child, look, Democrats sat on their hands. They didn't even applaud him. Laken Riley's mother and daughter were in the chamber last night. They sat on their hands, didn't applaud him. Peyton McNabb, a traumatic brain injury as it relates to an injury she had playing against a man in women's sports. Democrats just sat on their hands. Look, that's a bad look for Democrats.
It was notable the moments they did remain seated and were quiet. Anything surprise you in the speech?
Well, a couple of things. He did say on tariffs that there might be, quote, a little disturbance on tariffs. Really? Well, maybe more than a little disturbance. That was, Trump rarely acknowledges some potential problems down the road. I mean, everything's just, sunny and a lot of roses and everything's going to be just fine. But he did say there could be a little disturbance. He's clearly talking about the stock market and potentially prices going up. If the little disturbance becomes a big disturbance, obviously that's going to become a big problem for this White House. So I thought that was of note. Also, the Greenland comment where he said, look, we're going to get Greenland one way or another. Okay, could you maybe expand on the one way or another aspect? Didn't get much details, but that stood out to me.
Oh, certainly didn't get much details. I was surprised that was kind of left hanging. I was surprised he hit Greenland before the Ukraine, actually. Let's talk about the Ukraine in our final moment here. Ukraine's President Zelensky trying to repair the relationship after that Oval Office blow-up. What's Trump's strategy moving forward in negotiations?
Well, look, I mean, he got Zelensky to do what Trump wanted him to do, which is, dare I say, come back to the table and grovel a bit. I mean, we saw what he did with that statement saying, yeah, that meeting didn't go too well. I'd love to sign a minerals deal. And basically, you're the best president since sliced bread. He didn't say that, but, that was basically the grovel tone by Zelensky. So Trump got him back to the negotiating table to look at peace. It's not going to be a good deal for Ukraine. That's the truth of the matter. And also remember, when Zelensky walked away, or actually was escorted out of the White House last week, remember, Europe then came to the table and said, you know what, I'll tell you what, we'll do $800 billion, euros, 900 billion in U.S. money. And that's exactly another part that Trump wants, which is Europe doing more of their fair share. So Trump is getting everything in the art of the deal. And Zelensky doesn't have any cards to play. He just doesn't. And Trump knows that. And that's where we're at.
All right, David, appreciate your insight. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Andrew.
In other news, blizzards, tornadoes, storms, and fires, windstorms. The weather is creating havoc in several states across the country. John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau. John?
That's right, Andrew. Blizzard conditions developing in the Midwest, while the South has been hit with deadly storms. And now those high winds are heading for the East Coast. CBN's Brady Carter reports.
a massive storm system affecting millions as it sweeps across the country. This blinding dust storm covering parts of New Mexico and Texas.
It just came and ripped through.
Multiple tornadoes hit the region. In Lewisville, Texas, winds were so strong they damaged buildings and scattered debris across the city.
Check out this rain. This is what we're seeing. Oh, holy.
Meanwhile, an EF1 tornado devastated parts of Ada, Oklahoma, destroying homes. In Mississippi, at least 2 people died as high winds brought down falling trees.
I'm not used to tornadoes or any super crazy weather like this, so it's different to see it, but it feels good to get out and be able to help and clean up and take care of trash and make the community look a little better.
As these storms move out, high winds have moved in, knocking out power for hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses across the South.
We got a house fire right here on Lamar, Mesquite, right close to downtown.
Now, critical fire conditions have led to multiple house fires, with emergency crews battling flames and evicting residents here in San Antonio.
Good old Nebraska. It was literally 60 degrees out earlier today.
And blizzard warnings are in effect in parts of 5 states, with whiteout conditions making for difficult travel. Back in the South, the system disrupted Mardi Gras festivals in New Orleans, prompting officials to reschedule events and shorten parade routes. In Alabama, high winds overnight knocked out power for 70,000 people, and the East Coast is expecting windy conditions today. These storms come in the wake of hundreds of firings at the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. 280 people were let go recently in the Trump administration's effort to shrink the size of the federal government. There are concerns, however, that these cuts at NOAA could impact the safety of Americans and the future of weather forecasting. Brody Carter, CBN News.
Thank you, Brody. Turning to the Middle East, the United States and Israel rejected a new proposal from Arab leaders for the reconstruction of Gaza. The proposal, backed by Egypt, calls for rebuilding Gaza under an international trust fund, with the Palestinian Authority taking control. Israel dismissed the plan out of hand.
We don't have an agreement on phase 2. We demand total demilitarization of Gaza Strip, Hamas and Islamic Jihad out, and give us our hostages. If they agree to that, we can implement tomorrow. We will only have to discuss the ratio for the terrorists that want to get out from our jails.
While negotiations continue, Israel remains focused on securing the release of hostages still held by Hamas. A new report reveals that one hostage, Matan Angrest, is injured, being held in a dark cellar and deprived of food. And Andrew, Israel is preparing to return to fighting, it's reported, if an agreement cannot be reached soon.
Thank you, John. Something notable, there may not be universal support in the Middle East for this plan. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates did not send leadership. They just sent some representatives. Leadership skipped it. And with a $53 billion proposal, those 2 nations are vital. So the support may not be what people expect.